You might recognize her from the popular makeover show What Not to Wear. Stacy London first made her way into the spotlight alongside her co-host Clinton Kelly, helping countless women look and feel their best through fashion. Now she's advocating for women in a whole new way as a leading voice for menopause. In 2021, Stacy founded a wellness brand called State of Menopause, and now she's serving as an advisor for the up-and-coming herbal supplement brand Weil. She's chatting with us all about her career shift and more. This is Advocate Now. Well, Stacy, many people know you from your work in the fashion industry, especially from the hit TLC show, What Not to Wear. But now you're using your platform in an entirely new way as an advocate for menopause. What inspired this shift?
My own menopause experience, to be honest, Sonia. Thank you so much for having me. You look gorgeous. You're all dolled up. It's kind of fabulous.
Thank you.
I had a terrible menopause experience, really, as I was watching television kind of crumble and transformation TV kind of crumble, and not really knowing where I wanted to take my career, and feeling like I was tired of fashion, and all of a sudden feeling edgy and anxious. And I thought, oh, this is what happens, right? When people stop calling you for work. This is what happens. This is the midlife crisis, right? This is the thing. And I didn't know, about my looks changing, felt very uncomfortable to me. I didn't feel like myself. And, I'd had a lot of things happen that had started really around this time. Around 2016, I started experiencing really kind of weird symptoms of anxiety, but other things like out of the blue, just bad joint pain and muscle fatigue and these crazy headaches and itchy ears and just like weird things that you wouldn't even think about. And I had spinal surgery at the end of 2016. And in 2017, I got my period twice in January, never saw it again. But after the surgery, people said to me, oh, heart, brain, spine, that's like, your body doesn't know that it isn't dying. So a lot of times you'll have depression or anxiety, but they don't like to tell you because they don't want to suggest it to you. So I started to experience these things like really in a much bigger way. And not only that, I started to get hot flashes. I started to have night sweats. I started to have brain fog. I started to have insomnia in ways that were just making it incredibly difficult for me to function. And yet I had no idea that these symptoms were related to each other. I attributed them all to the surgery, and that surgery took 18 months to recover from. Not one time in those 2 years did anybody say to me, oh, I think you might be menopausal. Oh, I didn't even know that menopause happened in your 40s. Perimenopause happened in your 40s. I thought it happened in your 70s. My only reference was Jean Stapleton from All in the Family. And when I was 5 years old, I thought she was 70. The lady was 47 years old. So the more that I started to do my own homework, and the more that I started to realize not only the lack of resources, but the lack of education and advocacy around this issue, that women are always relegated, and gender expansive folks as well, relegated to this idea of being hysterical, or this pain is imaginary, or being dismissed by the healthcare community. I realized that this was a topic that really needed conversation. And so I started almost 4 years ago now, really talking about my experience. I acquired a company that I realized very quickly was not going to be on the right side of this menopause discussion, and closed it in order to take a step back and really start talking about education and advocacy. And this is not just about menopause. This is about every phase of sort of female physiological health, right? Born as female in terms of our physiology. But the minute you take a look at this crisis, the minute you understand how few people are talking about this, how few people understand what's happening to them, you realize that this is just another version of there not being enough clinical research around a female physiology. And that gets worse the more marginalized the community.
As you're talking, I'm kind of chuckling because I've had so many similar thoughts and beliefs around menopause, that it happens much later in life, and the resources that are available. But the work you're doing is so needed because women over 40 just are not prioritized in the media. And there seems to be a major disconnect between women and their bodies. And it starts from a very young age. You know, we see it in schools where young girls don't receive proper education to understand their bodies and menstrual cycles. And then we see it in older women who are bombarded with false narratives around their aging bodies and menopause. So why do you think society is so afraid or maybe intimidated by aging women?
Well, I don't think it's just, I mean, I think that that's one question. I just want to go back to what you said before about, women not being educated about their periods correctly, or I would say even pregnancy and infertility and postpartum, because the real truth of it is, I don't think that women or people who identify as women or gender expansive folks really are ever taught to feel safe in their bodies. Right? They're taught to feel like there is something wrong with them. And that is just a patriarchal lens. There is no getting around that. And the minute that we're not feeling safe in our bodies or taught not to feel safe in our bodies, then how do you trust your body? How do you trust your gut? How do you know that you should be exploring what is happening to you rather than letting a doctor dismiss you? Because I'll tell you, I was a medical people pleaser. I was like, oh, my doctor knows what she's talking about. Not about this. There are so many doctors who are not educated on menopause at all. And I think that the real threat of aging women is that the minute that we sort of throw off this kind of the shackles of what I would call, the values of youth, right? That we all are. I don't want to say fall victim to, but that we're all susceptible to, which is, what do other people think of us? And, do we want this guy to like us, or what's the job that we want, or how many toys do we have, or are we rich enough? Are we pretty enough? Are we thin enough? All of these things that have been drilled into us, particularly Gen X, for such a long time. I see more hope in younger generations. I think that those values are the ones that expire, not women. It's those values. And so people after over 40 are a threat because we are no longer interested in the same value system that, a lot of capitalism runs on. And I think, powerful women scare everybody. I just think that's the truth.
It's so true. And I love that you're allowing so many women to take their power back. I mean, this is what it's about, is re-empowering ourselves when it's been stripped away for so long.
Absolutely. And I want to emphasize that empowerment does not mean you have to wake up one day. And I will tell you, between the ages of 45 and 55, for women specifically, Scientific American did a study that said that it is the lowest point of a woman's happiness, highest rate of divorce, depression, and decreased earning potential. Now, I don't think those things are by accident, right? I think what we have long called this hysterical midlife crisis for women has really been hormonal fluctuation that we have not known how to manage physically or emotionally in terms of our mental health. And it's really easy to dismiss us as being crazy or hysterical or whatever it is. So I don't want to, I want women younger than 40 to know what's happening to them. I want to educate people at least in your 20s. You're going to do whatever you want. I thought I was immortal in my 20s. I'm not going to worry about that. But once you hit your 30s, you should have some idea of the continuum of what is going to happen to you. You've had your period. Maybe you're doing your family planning, or maybe you're deciding whether or not you want children, whatever that may be, or you're dealing with infertility, or you're dealing with IVF. You should know what comes after that, because pregnancy is not the end all and be all of a female physiological system.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks so much for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, just head to advocate.com and advocatechannel.com. The Advocate Channel is here to be a voice for underserved and underrepresented LGBTQ+ and BIPOC communities. Join the conversation. Subscribe on YouTube and Facebook. Download our Roku and Fire TV app. Take us with you. Get the Advocate Channel app on your Apple or Android device. Thanks for watching. I'm Sonia Baghdadi. There's more Advocate Channel after the break.